We all know the phrase "dead men tell no tales" from Pirates of the Caribbean, but where exactly did that come from? Well, the first time you encounter this phrase is the talking Jolly Roger before your bateau plunges into darkness down the first drop. Mark Davis was the one that designed this skull and crossbones, and he's also the one that brought this iconic phrase into the world of Pirates of the Caribbean. So back in summer of 1961, long before Pirates was a boat ride, Mark Davis was playing around with concepts for a walk-through pirate wax museum. It starred several famous pirates, among them Captain John Every, otherwise known as Long Ben. Above him, stitched on a sampler, were the words "Dead men tell no tales." The phrase came about from Mark Davis's research that he did in 1960. He had a whole stack of books that he read about pirate lore, but one of them was called The Pirate's Own Book, first published in 1837. This is where Mark learned that pirates adopted the maxim "dead men tell no tales." For example, when they sent a crew of a ship they plundered adrift with no food or water, "dead men can tell no tales" was a common saying to justify their piracy, meaning no one was left alive to bear witness to their crimes. Mark noted these words, worked it into his concepts, and that's how we have this iconic phrase that we know and love today.
Carl Rove wanted me to buy this ranch, distance myself from my years at Yale and Harvard, make me more of a man of the people for the election.
Smart.
So we're gonna do this thing, or what? I mean, is this happening?
We have found some very interesting candidates. If we could schedule a 3-hour window to...
I want you to be my VP. You're the solution to my problem.
I'm CEO of a large company. I have been Secretary of Defense. I have been Chief of Staff. The Vice Presidency is mostly a symbolic job.
Right. I can see how that wouldn't be enticing to you.
However, the Vice Presidency is also defined by the President. And if we were to come to a different understanding.
Go on. I'm listening.
I sense that you're a kinetic leader. You make decisions based on instinct.
I am. People always said that.
Yeah. Very different. Very different from your father in that regard. Now, maybe I can handle some of the more mundane jobs, overseeing bureaucracy, managing military, energy, foreign policy.
That sounds good.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at age 84.
The Cheney family says he passed away at his home in Wyoming yesterday from heart issues and complications from pneumonia. Well, Russ Ketchke live now in our nation's capital tonight with a look at the political legacy of one of the most polarizing figures in American politics. Russ.
Well, good afternoon, guys. Dick Cheney spent much of his life as a fixture in the Republican Party. He leaves behind a complex and complicated legacy that has shaped everything from today's conservative politics to American foreign policy.
I, Richard Cheney, do solemnly swear.
When Dick Cheney was sworn in as vice president in 2001, it was the culmination of a lifetime of Republican politics. His start came in the Richard Nixon administration. After the Watergate scandal, Cheney climbed the ladder, eventually serving as chief of staff to President Gerald Ford. From there, he'd moved to Capitol Hill, representing Wyoming in Congress, before another Republican president called his name. Cheney tapped as Secretary of Defense for George H.W. Bush, leading the Pentagon during the end of the Cold War and a transformational period in American foreign policy. He'd oversee the first Gulf War when the United States led the response to Saddam Hussein's Iraq invasion of Kuwait.
Get up and get down. 911 as joke in the old town. Get up and get down. Late 911 where we lay crown.
Investigate 9/11. 9/11 was perpetrated by people within our own government.
All right. 9/11, the worst terrorist attack in our history, was planned and directed from Afghanistan because that country was ruled by a government that gave comfort and shelter to terrorists.
Come on, one. You and I are actually a lot alike. We're both in the sleep business. We both work really hard.
Sure.
And we both wear wool suits.
Introducing the latest Trump Home Mattress Collection by Serta. Experience an innovation in sleep technology and enjoy the comfort and luxury of a 5-star hotel right in your home.
So what do you think of my Trump Home Mattress Collection by Serta? Finally, the same luxury and comfort I demand in my hotels.
Oh, they'll never count sheep again.
Listen, why don't you come work for me?
What do you have in mind?
Something you were born to do.
Welcome to room 9.
Looking good, number 9. Looking good.
Where's your dignity?
Terrorist, September 11th. September 11th, killers, September 11th. Terrorist.
Terrorism, terrorist, 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 the terror, terrorist, terrorist, September 11th, terrorist, terror, 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 September the 11th.
There might have been a organized plot. I don't know all the facts. I don't think we all know all the facts, but I was deeply concerned that this could have been, another organized, highly organized attack on the country.
But his most lasting impact on the Middle East and the world would come a decade later. His former boss's son, George W. Bush, selected Cheney to be his VP.
I picked him because he's strong, he's steady, and he gets the job done.
And it still may be. I don't know the facts, but I do know that it's really hard to protect the homeland.
Donald, you're probably the best known builder, particularly of great buildings in the city. There's a great deal of question about whether or not the damage and the ultimate destruction of the buildings was caused by the airplanes, by architectural defect, or possibly by bombs or aftershocks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it was an architectural defect. You know, the World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation, and it withstood that. And I got to see that area about 3 or 4 days after it took place because one of my structural engineers actually took me for a tour because he did the building. And I said, I can't believe it. The building was standing solid and half of the columns were blown out. I mean, so this was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall.
It was the job he would redefine in the wake of the September 11th terror attacks. Cheney became a chief architect of the global war on terror, leading the charge for another U.S. invasion of Iraq and pushing now discredited intelligence that Saddam Hussein was in possession of weapons of mass destruction. The war would far outlast his time in office, costing the lives of more than 4,000 American troops and an estimated 200,000 Iraqi civilians. Cheney's warhawk attitude and ties to the oil industry became a lightning rod for critics, though he insisted history would be on his side.
Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have, and it was almost just like a can of soup.
You know, Donald, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think, obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly because I was also watching where the plane seemed to be not only going fast, it seemed to be coming down into the building. So it was getting the speed from going downhill, so to speak. It just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane because you're talking about taking out steel, the heaviest caliber steel that was used on a building. I mean, these buildings were rock solid.
what we did in Iraq and taking down Saddam Hussein was exactly the right thing to do.
After leaving office, Cheney mostly remained out of public eye until just a few years ago when he re-emerged to defend his daughter, then Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who'd become a target of President Donald Trump after her investigation into the January 6th Capitol riot. Cheney even endorsed Democrat Kamala Harris in her campaign against Trump in 2024.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump.
And, it's just an amazing thing. This country is different today, and it's going to be different than it ever was for many years to come.
Leaving behind a complex legacy, leaders in both parties paying their respects to the former giant of American politics on Capitol Hill.
Dick was a lifelong public servant who believed very deeply in our country.
My name is Susan Orfanos. My son was Tel Orfanos. We lost him last night at the borderline shooting. My son was in Las Vegas with a lot of his friends and he came home. He didn't come home last night, and I don't want prayers. I don't want thoughts. I want gun control, and I hope to God nobody else sends me any more prayers. I want gun control. No more guns. Thank you.
Charlie Kirk's widow in tears. Erica Kirk sits down for her first TV interview since her husband's assassination 8 weeks ago.
Do you feel safe?
What are they going to threaten me with? Going to heaven sooner to be with my husband? I'm not afraid. Charlie wasn't afraid either. We never lived in fear. If we did, we wouldn't get anything done.
She told Fox News host Jesse Waters she insisted on seeing her late husband's lifeless body in the hospital.
When we walked into that room, he had this smirk on his face.
I'm Madeline Wolford. And I'd just like to say that I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm just glad that I'm making a full recovery and everything's been going so smoothly, so that's all I have to say.
That smirk to me is that look of, you thought you could stop what I've built. You thought that you could end this vision, this movement, this revival. You thought you could do that by murdering me. You got my body. You didn't get my soul.
Erica also weighed in on Jimmy Kimmel's suspension after making what many called insensitive comments about the assassination. So, does she want an apology?
If you want to say I'm sorry to someone who's grieving, go right ahead. But if that's not in your heart, don't do it. I don't want it. I don't need it.
You all know that I was been here fighting for him all morning long. And we did just get the news that he was one of the 11 that were hit and killed last night. His name was Cody Kaufman. My firstborn son. Only him and I know how much I love, how much I miss. Oh, God, this is so hard. Oh, son, I love you so much. Oh, Heavenly Father, just please be with him.
Vice President Dick Cheney shot his hunting buddy in the face. Look at that headline. Duck, it's Dick. Cheney was quail hunting with Harry Whittington in Texas when he accidentally fired a shotgun, not realizing it was pointed at Whittington.
The vice president was involved in a terrible accident, and it profoundly affected him. Yesterday when he was here in the Oval Office, I saw the deep concern he had about a person who he wounded. And he, again, I thought yesterday's explanation was a very strong and important explanation to make to the American people. And now our concerns are directed toward the recovery of our friend. I knew Harry Whittington when I was the governor of Texas down there in Austin.
Devilishly clever. Uh-oh. What's up, Doc? Having any luck on those ducks? It's duck season, you know. Just a darn minute. Where do you get that duck season stuff? Says so right over there on that sign. You're so smart. You know what to do with that gun, Doc. You're despicable.
We've been reporting about the tragedy and the horror, but also the confusion. Some students telling me they thought this was a drill, that there had been a fire alarm earlier in the day, and that they had been told a few weeks ago that there would be an active shooter drill, but never did they imagine it would turn out to be the real thing.
Yep. What you are watching is exclusive footage from NBC News of an active shooter drill. It's the 13th such drill the school district has staged in the past year. And the victims are students, all volunteers.
Because they told us that they were going to have like fake, you know, and have people being taken away and like have them scream or whatever. So I was like, it must be
like in
fake.
a school drill? Like,
Yeah,
is that
like a drill?
I was just thinking of places I would hide or run if in the scenario that had ever happened. I couldn't think of any.
Look, you know, they could be practicing a code red. They talked about doing this. They even talked about police coming on and, you know, shooting blanks, you know, to see what would happen, you know.
And schools all across the country, from Texas to Indiana to Oregon, have staged the kind of drill you are seeing here.
And then I ran past the office and I saw more people dead, like kids I see in choir every day. And it was starting to get to me, and then I saw the gunman like right in front of me, and I stopped and I meant to run, but I was kind of frozen in my spot, and he shot me, and I was like, I died. So
it has been to send adults playing the role of homicidal gunmen into schools. It has been to teach kids the best way to shield their bodies from the bullets. This is duck and cover for a new generation. But of course, our old Cold War adversaries are gone. The enemy now is within.
I live here in Columbus, Ohio. In 2045, Columbus is the fastest growing city on Earth. But it sure doesn't seem like it when you live in the stacks.
There's a dystopian society and the fabric of our economy is crumbling. It's a good time to escape. So virtual reality will be a super drug.
They called our generation the missing millions. Missing not because we went anywhere. There's nowhere left to go. Nowhere except the oasis.
If we turn against each other based on divisions of race or religion,
Come on, try getting it out.
Ding, 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 bong. That's all, folks.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.